सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वाग्गच्छति नो मनः. None of our faculties can ever touch this reality. Which reality? The truth that was earlier described as the ear of the ear, mind of the mind, eye of the eye, and so on, which we described again as the empowering principle behind the whole personality of ours. And another appropriate language for our modern times is to say that it is the unknown and unknowable dimension of our existence. It's our existence, not somebody else's, our own dimension. In fact, the core of our being. What we talked of here is we ourselves. So that aspect of our existence, which is not the object of any organ. Just as electricity flows through an electric lamp, and that lamp illumines all objects in the hall, but the light of the lamp doesn't illumine the electricity. Electricity makes the fan move, the iron the clothes, the lamp shed light around it. Electricity makes 1,000 gadgets do whatever they are doing, but none of those gadgets has electricity as its object. You know about subject and object. And what is its practical significance? This unknown somehow is lost sight of, to use an idiom. Not that we mean it can be held in our sight, we just now said no. But to use an idiom, the unknown aspect, our true nature, is lost sight of, and we invest all our energies to the field of the known. I know myself as so and so, such and such. And if it is asked, how do you know in that manner? The answer obviously is through memories. I am the man who won that election by a large margin of votes. When was that election? Last year, past. I am the man who helped this man come up in his field. You helped. It's a past tense verb. I am the one who lost, who won. 100 things, all of the past. At this moment, at 10:48 a.m., if I ask any of you, describe yourself, tell me who you are, and before you start, I add a clause without referring to the past. At 10:48, even 10:47 is past. Don't refer to anything of the past. Tell me who you are. It's going to be very difficult for you. In fact, you cannot even say, I am this body. I will ask you, how do you know? You can only say, I am. Full stop. Because any self-description requires capturing some information, then presenting it. You capture and then you present. Between capturing and presenting, there is the lapse of time, and therefore what you captured is already the past. I ask you, who are you? And you say, looking at yourself, I am this man. But that you captured through the senses, you recorded in your mind. So it is the past. I ask you, in the present, at this moment, who are you? No description is possible. So, na chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no manaha. Any description is in fact old baggage. Any judgment is old baggage. You judge others or you judge yourself, it is old, it is outdated. Therefore, at best, we would concede and make room for judgment, saying, at best, for some necessary transactions, you may use judgments. Do not have judgments unnecessarily. Do not recall memory unwarrantedly. But the machine of our mind constantly recalls, keeps recalling. Just like these mobiles and so on, they are not in our control. No, he did not press a button, it just came on. So it's a very appropriate example. Our mind is like that. Without pressing a button, the mind suddenly recalls a memory. Memories arise. Never mind, we are talking of not to react. When a stimulus comes, that is one problem, I agree. But if we react, we have created two problems. At least we should avoid the second problem. Let there be stimulus, but let us not react. That would be a spiritual exercise. That's what I idiomatically described as, let us not add fuel to the fire. Let the lamp burn away. Let the oil get exhausted. Let's not pour oil into the lamp. Yesterday we went to some extent to describe vak, the power of word, the power of description. But if you want to know the ultimate truth, you have to put aside word. Word, sound, description, judgment, they are all one. That is how in the Chandogya, much before Krishnamurti and others talked about the power of word, in the Chandogya Upanishad, in Sama-Veda, the same Veda as this Upanishad is from, Rishi Uddalaka says to his son Shvetaketu, "My dear son, look at these pots and pitchers, plates and flower vases." So there were several creations of clay. A pot made of clay, a pitcher made of clay, a flower vase made of clay, a pail made of clay, a number of things all made of clay. And the father, Uddalaka, says, well, from one point of view, for utilitarian purposes, yes, pot is not pitcher, the pitcher is not flower vase, and flower vase is not the pail. Utility wise, what you do with them. But otherwise, all these are clay. And in the Chandogya, there comes an off-quoted sentence. Off-quoted means somebody like Adi Shankaracharya quotes it in his commentaries everywhere, Gita or other Upanishads, Brahma Sutra or anywhere, on a number of occasions. This sentence of the Chandogya Upanishad is quoted. It goes, Vacharambanam vikaro namadheyam mrityiketyeva satyam. Ketyeva satyam. My son, these vikaras, vikara means modifications, pot, pitcher, etc. They are all vacha arambanam. Vacha is a synonym of vak. Vak and vacha are same. Vacha arambanam. It is just an activity of speech. It is an activity of word. We have given different labels to these vikaras. Vikaras. Of all of them is mrittika. Mrittika means clay. In our Indian and British English, we also use the word mud. All these are made of mud. In American English, mud is not used. They would use clay. Mud, I think, is for the dirty ground and a different flavor it has. Swami Chinmayananji used to roar on this Chandogya Shruti. All these pots, pitchers and pails are just an activity of speech. The truth is just the mud. Madeva satyam. If you see his videotapes, you will see. The Upanishad says, Mrityiketyeva satyam. Mrityika alone is truth. And Swami Chinmayananji would say, Madeva satyam. Half English, half Sanskrit. Mud alone is true. So, when you have your eye of wisdom open, you will be not moved by the externalities. Somebody is a CMO, CMD of some big corporation. Somebody else is a coolie at Dadar railway station. Somebody else was honored with Padma Vibhushan just other day. And somebody else is facing a court trial for criminal acts. All these are vacharambanam, play of words. With your eye of wisdom open, you see all of them as the same Satchidananda Brahma. The body-mind complex goes through so many states and stages. But are you the body-mind? Am I the body-mind? Who am I? Who is she? Who is he? When we inquire deeply and we see with the eye of wisdom, there is quietude, there is silence. And very remarkably and very importantly, with that vision of equality, there is not only a tremendous strength within you, but also great compassion. So all of us watched the beautiful video of Sri Mahavira last night, and you noted, you saw in it, on one hand there was great strength in him. Even as a snake came and bit him, or a demon came and attacked him, there was strength in him to face it all. Nothing happened to him. But more importantly, from his eyes there came tears of karuna. He did not look down at those people. Rather, he looked at them with compassion. For to describe it, I don't know how Jainism describes it, but in the Vedanta we would describe it this way. Mahavira would see those criminals with compassion and wonder, you are Satchidananda Brahma. Why did you have to do all this circus? Where was the need? That criminal would also be seen as the same fullness as oneself is. Anyway, this na vag gacchati is a very powerful statement. Description, which is very handy in our daily life. Everywhere we need description. At the same time, suppose we don't put it in its right place, can block the vision of truth. Or let me put it in a simpler language. You and I speak, we write, we communicate. We go on improving our communication skills. Some of us, even after we reach 40 or 50, we begin learning even an additional, a new language, maybe a foreign language, we learn. For we are not content with communicating with the people of our own country and community. We want to communicate maybe with the French, with the Spanish people. So we try our hand at even those languages. We communicate, right? However, along with the great importance that we have given to communication, have we given equal importance to the ability to be silent? Generally, we have not. We go silent when we are tired of communicating. The silence of tiredness, the silence of sleep is the only silence we know. The whole world is full of communication workshop. Special, some Rushi Kumar Pandya, and there are some, in Bombay, many. Aparesh Acharya was there in olden days. Practically everywhere, these management gurus come and hold workshops on communication skills. How about workshops on silence? Management workshop on remaining silent. In a way, these spiritual camps are doing that. Here, a speaker like me is not imparting to you, please don't misunderstand. Though I am giving speeches, I am not imparting to you ability to speak like I do. That would be a serious misunderstanding. Our attempt here, even as I speak and you listen, in fact, there is one effort on part of all of us, and that is, rather than communicating or describing, it is to discover the silence within us. Not the silence of tiredness, not the silence of dullness, not the silence of anger. Sometimes somebody doesn't speak. How are you? I am okay. Why don't you eat? I have no hunger. In every house it happens. In some rich houses there is a separate room for these angry people to go and sit. Krodagara, or like Dasharatha had, right? Kaikeyi went to the Kroda Graha. Then the husband runs there. What happened? He only had built it. She could just say, I am using, you have built it, it needs to be used. But no. So Kroda Graha, not that silence. Not then, it is, you are boiling inside. It's not true silence. But the silence of innocence, the silence of childlike simplicity. You and I have lost it. So no vag gacchati has this significance that the ultimate truth, what a paradox it is, the ultimate truth about which volumes are written is actually characterized by silence. It is indescribable. The Gita 13th chapter says, Rishibhihi bahudha gitam chandobhihi vividhai pratak brahma sutra padaishchaiva hetu madhir vinischitam. Lord Krishna describes, O Arjuna, this is a truth about which rishis have sung, not just spoken. Gita is sung. Rishibhir bahudha gitam chandobhir vividhai pratak, by different meters. Simple anushtup running into 8 syllables per quarter, or shardula vikredita running into 19 syllables. Vishvam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam. People lengthen it. 19 syllables. There is only 1 quarter. 3 more quarters. 19 into 4. So many syllables. That is different chandas. Rishibhir bahudha gitam chandobhir vividhai pratak brahma sutra padaishchaiva hetu madbhir vinischitam. And after saying all that, it is said, no vag gacchati. After such glorious description, in a whisper it is said, actually it cannot be described. Then why did you do all that? That also cannot be described. Na vidmaha. Therefore, while it is said by its nature, it cannot be objectified by senses, by speech or by mind, the Rishi obviously doesn't claim that I know it. That would be a contradiction. So I too don't know. Of course, what is meant is, we too don't know it as an object. Later there is the very famous mantra which says, those who say they know, they do not. And those who know do not say they know. That mantra comes, we will see it. So perfectly in accordance with that, the Rishi here says, Na vidmaha. I don't know. One of the finest illustrations of this comes to us through a parable of Sri Ramakrishna. Two sons of the father in a village go to a Veda Patashala far away. The father also is a wise, learned scholar, but they went away because ghar ki murgi dal barabar. The sons better study from somebody else. From one's own father, sometimes it is a bit difficult to study. Though in the case of Shvetaketu and Uddalaka it happened, Bhragu and Varuna it happened, but some other times it doesn't. So the boys go, Sri Ramakrishna explains. They study 12 years, all the Veda, Vedanta. They come back and then the father asks them, did you study this? Did you study that? And he asks them, did you study about Brahman? Well-known story. And they say, yes, our Guru taught us Brahma Vidya also, the knowledge of the highest reality. Then when the father asks in front of a number of villagers, tell me, what is Brahman? The first one goes, Rashibir Bahuda Gitam. He gives so many shlokas, so many mantras from this Upanishad and that Prakarana Grantha, left and right. And all the villagers raise their eyebrows. Wow, what a wonderful son he is. But the father apparently is not impressed. The father asks the second son, you tell me, my dear, now, what is Brahman? And all that the second son does is put his head down and remain silent. The father then says to the villagers, this one knows Brahman. The second son just puts his head down and remains silent. So when you go back to your homes, they ask you, what did you learn? Just put your head down, remain silent. After a long pause, just ask, what is there for dinner? If there are other people who, I hope you are not entering a locked house. People there. But Sri Ramakrishna was like that. Therefore, no wonder that it was said, Sri Ramakrishna was a bhakta outside, but a jnani inside. And they say Vivekananda was a jnani outside, but bhakta inside. Jnana and bhakti going together in such a marvelous way. Na vidmaha. I don't know. I put my head down. I remain silent. This silence, once more, is not one of ignorance really. It is one of going beyond knowledge. Ignorance is lack of knowledge. But this wisdom takes you beyond knowledge. That is, knowledge, as we usually know it, has limitations. So you go beyond knowledge. You see the limitations of knowledge and you no more are attached to knowledge. Going beyond is just like that. You are not attached. If you are not attached to whatever knowledge you have, then you have gone beyond it. If you are attached, you are stuck in it. So learn the Vedas, learn 7 languages, learn art, learn music, learn dance, learn Sanskrit, learn what you may, learn what you will, but can you take care not to get attached to any? Then in that non-attachment to the knowledge and skills that you have acquired, you enjoy an inner silence. Then na vidmaha, na vijanimaha yatha etad anushishyat. For that very reason, that this cannot be expressed as everything else in the world can be. The Rishi acknowledges that we don't know how to impart, how to teach. Anushishyat means how we may teach, how this could be transmitted. There was a European saint called John Klein, Klein. He came to India, spent 3 years, studied Vedanta. He already had some inkling of such wisdom in his childhood, and he was searching. So the study of Vedanta in India gave him total clarity. And he went back for several decades. This John Klein, John spelt as Jean. Even now I don't know how to correctly pronounce it. It's a French name. Though spelt Jean, it is pronounced as John. John Klein. JK. He was also JK. John Klein. He died somewhere around 99 or something like that. In one of his books, he talks about such things, and the book is titled by his devotees who compiled, Transmission of the Flame. How to transmit the flame. The flame of attention is up and burning in you. The flame of attention has turned to ashes your regrets, your sorrow, your fear. Because these are all creations in the mind having no substance in them actually, but somehow, like the expression goes, they are paper tigers. A paper tiger scares you, but if you know what it is, then you are no more scared. So the transmission of the flame, yatha etad anushishyat. How to transmit? Very humbly the teacher acknowledges here, we don't know how to transmit. But what he means is, again, this cannot be communicated using usual methods. What are the usual methods? Describe something in terms of its qualities. Suppose you were to ask, what is a waterfall? You describe a lot of water falling from height, from above to below, huge quantities. So hugeness, water, falling, above, below, these are all concepts. Using such concepts of above or below, big or small, solid or liquid, you cannot describe this Atma. For Atma is neither big nor small, or the Upanishad mantras say, it is bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. Yan mahato mahiyan. Musibat. In Hindi you say, what a sankat, what a difficult thing. One of our humorous teachers, Swami Anubhavanand, he describes generally. Anauraniyan mahato mahiyan, bigger than biggest, smaller than smallest. Let us ask Sri Krishna and decide. Let him take 5 minutes and decide whether it is big or small. 5 मिनट दे देते हैं भगवान, 5 मिनट लो और तन में निश्चितम ब्रूहि, टेल मी डिसाइसिवली, या तो कहिए बड़ा है नहीं तो छोटा है. ये बड़ा भी है छोटा भी है ऐसे मत कहना. टेक 5 minutes and decide. But Lord Sri Krishna after 5 minutes also would say, he would say, well, I have decided it is very big. Good, you say, thank you, you gave a decision. You are about to leave. Then he says, and it is small. Ah, What did you say? I said it is big. But I heard something else. Yes, I said it is small. So how long will you go on giving him, like court cases in India? Adjourned, adjourned, adjourned. The two parties have died, their children are fighting. Adjourned. Grandchildren fight over the same case. That is how cases run. Anyway, na vijanimaha. In those usual ways, this can never be described. Not as big, not as small, and so on. Now comes this puzzlesome mantra. There are a number of puzzlesome mantras in this Upanishad. In fact, in many Upanishads, there are these mantras which are, please see the fourth mantra. Anya deva tad viditat atho aviditad adhi iti shushruma purvesham yenastad vyachachakshire अन्यदेव तद्विदितात् अथो अविदितादधि इति शुश्रुमस पूर्वेषाम् येनस्तद्व्याचचक्षिरे. In the realm of knowledge, everywhere we find certain things we know, so we could label it known. This is known, Known. And everything else is unknown. Known and unknown. The Sanskrit words for known and unknown are vidita and avidita. Vid means to know. Even the word Veda comes from that root, vid. But the puzzle here is such that the Rishi says it's other than the known, anya deva viditat, ata u, again this u has come. The Rishi perhaps is a devotee of Shiva. So everywhere u, he keeps saying. Atha plus u becomes atho. And aviditad adhi. Adhi literally means above, which once more implies, so different from the known, different from the unknown. So Anubhavananda would say to this Rishi also, take 5 minutes and decide. Say either it is known or unknown. What is this? Neither here nor there. Either zero in digital electronics, digital mathematics, Boolean algebra, etc. Either 0 or 1. If something is not 0, it has to be 1. If something is not A, it is a Boolean algebra. It has to be A bar. And if it is not A bar, it is A. There is no third possibility. But in Vedanta's algebra, not Boolean algebra, Vedanta algebra, the crux of the matter is neither A nor A bar, neither 0 nor 1, but it is the principle thanks to which the mind is able to do this classification. The very empowering principle. Manaso manoyat. Now all this logical explanation you and I can do, we can memorize after studying this, teaching this, talking about it several times. We don't need much time at all. Oh yeah, I know. Neither known nor unknown, because it is the knower. It is the power that makes all knowledge possible. In that field of knowledge, you have two categories, known and unknown. But this is the substrate. So, that also becomes known to us. But it's only through living alertly that the practical significance of this once more becomes clear. We may know the logical classification, known, unknown, and now a third one, knower. But are we directly aware how we are attached to the known, how we are afraid of the unknown, or sometimes how we are desirous of the unknown? I know English, I am very attached to it. I don't know Spanish, I am desirous of learning Spanish. Maybe through that I have some agenda. Like other day I talked of a businessman whose business runs in 7 countries already, and he is very attached to his domain. But he desires to have business in Japan also. And then one more, endlessly. So, it's not just a matter of mathematically making a few categories, known, unknown and knower. हो गया, Kena Upanishad समझ गए. No. This should help us be aware of the mental movement, how our mind passes through the known, the unknown, and it hardly is unattached. With everything that is known, there is attachment, or sometimes there is shame. So there are so many interpretations. And for things that are unknown, as I said, there is desire to know, desire to acquire, or sometimes fear. I hear 2 people talking in Spanish, I am afraid. What are they talking about? I listen, but I don't know Spanish, I don't follow. I fear. Fear of the unknown. The known also causes fear in its own way. The unknown also causes fear. Upanishads are not about classifying varieties of things and saying, okay, let us submit this as a PhD thesis. It's not about such scholarship, such scholasticism. It's not about intellectualism, though there is quite a bit of intellectuality here. But what is the essence of Upanishads? Rather than intellectualism, it is freedom from intellect and intellectualism, everything. How to be free from the known? How to be free from even the unknown? How to be free from fear, prejudice, desire, hope? All these, you name it, take you away from the vibrant now. This world is full of cases, case after case, of so-called successful people who have amassed wealth, got many titles, who have got much recognition, who are famous, and so on, but who, to use an idiom again, have no time to stop and smell the roses. They have no time to smell the roses. In psychology, they talk about a kind of stress, which is, in simple language, success stress. There is this stress a lot of people suffer because of failure, because of difficulties, because of not being able to make the two ends meet. But there is also success stress. You are popular, you are successful, you are in much demand, you are you know, well known, and then you are not able to handle it. You then miss out your good old days where you were a simple man or a simple woman who could just walk through roads, who could go to Chowpatty and what is that? Sometimes I pretend not to know these things. I mean, it doesn't come so readily to me as it comes to you people. But Pani Puri, Bhel Puri, how nice it is to go to the beach, take one of those. The person who gives you that Pani Puri also puts his fingers into the holes. Then we also put our finger into the hole, and a divine taste comes. And nobody bothers us, nobody to take photograph, nobody to ask for autograph, nobody to, paparazzi, if I have pronounced it rightly, chasing you wherever you go as they did, and they undid Diana's life, as we hear, though there are other stories about it. How nice it is to be a common man, a common woman, carefree life. But when you are well known, which you only wanted, then you have no freedom. Can we be free in spite of popularity or success, in spite of all that we have achieved, suppose we have? Can we be like a common man? See, the Vedanta would say it's not so much about being a common man or being a famous man. Both have their problems. The Vedanta would say whether you are a common man or a very famous man, have the wisdom in which you clearly see that you are nothing. When Vivekananda came back from United States, when he became foreign returned, even in those days, 1893 or 94, 1893 he gave his parliament address at the Parliament of Religions. He was received in such a grand way. Very young man he was. He was carried in procession all over India, whether it was Madras, Chennai, or in his own hometown, Kolkata, and somewhere he has written, somebody at my age, in my position, would have gone insane. But if I remember right, he attributes, by my Guru's grace, I still have my head over my shoulders. It was difficult, you just imagine. Pagal ho jate jarur. We cannot maintain the equanimity, the balance. Suddenly, if so much of attention were to come to us. So, what's the secret? Not the silence of dullness, but the inner silence of wisdom. What is that wisdom? The inner silence of seeing very clearly that I am actually nothing. And if these people say I am a Maharaja, God bless them. I am actually nothing. So one sees very clearly. I am neither a great meritorious person, nor am I a criminal. I am nothing. I am a big zero. But not in an uncomplimentary sense. A zero in the sense, negation of all description. So one learns to live in silence. See, these are somewhat popular talks, so we use some words just like that. Even this word learns to live in silence, you know, becomes a bit objectionable. Learn. What is learning? Generally, learning again is accumulating. Learning again is getting a skill. Learning again, generally, it need not be. Who will decide finally the meaning of words? But when you say, I learnt driving a car, what it means is now without thinking you will apply the clutch, apply the brakes, accelerate, slow down, without much thinking. So you have acquired a skill. So in a passing manner I may comment here, I just said we learn to remain silent. But really speaking, it is not through practice and through acquisition of a skill that you remain silent. This business, to use a commercial word again, this business of remaining silent in the face of mana, apamana, honor or dishonor, is something that just happens through seeing, through insight. There's a subtle distinction. I would admit that this silence also comes about in you through repeated appreciation. Because you read a Vedanta book, you heard a lecture, or maybe it just occurred to you from within. So on a number of occasions, you saw clearly that you are being from a reputed family, you are having to your credit many discoveries, many inventions, all those. All of them are at their own place. You actually are like any human being. You see it, maybe during reading, maybe during listening, and as I admitted, maybe through your own insight to you. This John Klein, when he was a young boy, heard the barking of a dog. All of us have heard. He heard a dog bark. And it seems, we don't know why, it seems he went into a kind of a trance, a kind of an unusual state, where he felt that there was only barking of the dog, he did not exist. And he asked his mother afterwards, Mama, when the dog barked, I felt there was only the dog and the dog's barking. I felt for some time I just did not exist. Mama must have said, you didn't take enough breakfast today. Aao, ek aur roti khao. Or whatever, she consoled him. Sometimes such things happen, don't worry. You play or you study for your school. But later he says, that was the first seed. That was the seed of his Advaitic realization much later. So, Anyadeva viditat, atho aviditat is not a matter of just quickly learning some explanations. In fact, that is the peril that you and I face in the study of scriptures. We are clever people. हम सब बहुत होशियार हैं. The old song goes, सब कुछ सीखा हमने, न सीखी होशियारी. That song is okay in the movie. But सचमुच कहे तो, in reality, all of us are very होशियार. सब वेदांत हमने पढ़ा, न छोड़ी होशियारी. Not न सीखी होशियारी. You have to change the song. सब कुछ हमने पढ़ा, न छोड़ी होशियारी. You have to sing like that. We read so many Upanishads, but alas, we could not give up this cleverness. We are very clever people. Like I feel tempted to share with you one of my favorite jocular stories. The Sunday morning, the man says to his wife, "Please get the hammer from the neighbor's house." She goes, "Neighbor's hammer was right there in front." Still the neighbor says, "We don't have any hammer." "But there is the hammer." "No, I'm telling you there is no hammer." So the wife goes to another house. Another house, the hammer was inside. "We don't have a hammer, so we cannot give." A third house, again hammer was in front. But the neighbor says, "But we also this morning are trying to do some work. We will not be able to give you." Fourth house, fifth house, nobody gives them a simple hammer for some Sunday morning work. What a terrible thing. My wife comes finally and says, "Unnecessarily you made me go to all these houses. They are all very selfish people. Our neighborhood is full of selfish people. कोई भी वो हथौड़ा नहीं देते." Then the husband says, "Yeah, sorry, these are all very selfish people. You are right. Let us use our own hammer today." ठीक है, आज सुबह इस रविवार को हम अपना ही हथौड़ा यूज करें. So that is called होशियारी. And who among us, including the speaker, is not like that? We are all very clever people. In different ways maybe. Some of us may not be clever in money. We may be bhola bala in money. Many of us sadhus are like that. पैसे में हम समझते नहीं. But हम और कहीं बहुत होशियार है. वो नेक्स्ट कैंप में बताऊंगा. Everybody is hoshiyar in some area. And only one Ramana, one Ramakrishna are, they are rare people. And how did they give up hoshiyari? That chaturai, it's called chaturai also I think, it's cleverness. How did they give up? They were more intelligent than we are. They were much more intelligent. They saw what hoshiyari can get in life, they saw it, but they also saw its limitations. इससे क्या मिलता है, किस हद तक मिलता है, और इससे क्या नहीं मिलता है, इससे क्या नहीं मिल सकता है. होशियारी can take us to some distance, can give us some social position, some wealth, some importance, and so on. But that's it, not beyond. Just as these terrorists and all these people, they are very idiotic people. They think they achieve something. And yes, they did achieve. They killed some 200 people. They damaged the business of India to crores and crores of rupees extent. But it is so less. They themselves lose, and neither they nor their religion gets anything substantial. Satyameva Jayate of the Vedanta will prove itself again and again. They are in such illusion. They are very, very idiotic. And many of us, thanks to a certain refined culture to which we belong, don't do such mistakes. Those are extremely stupid mistakes. Violence is a great stupid act. Those of us who are apparently non-violent are actually, we are free from gross forms of violence, but we are not yet free from subtle forms of violence. We may not kill, we may not beat up anybody, we may not physically hurt, we may not even financially hurt others, but what I am trying to say is, you would understand when I put it in another way. Even when financially also we don't hurt, we are very, very, conscientious. If 1 rupee has to belong to you, I take care that that 1 rupee, your 1 rupee goes to you, suppose. No hurting. But psychological domination is extremely difficult for you and me to let go of. The insecurity in us makes us somehow establish a kind of psychological domination. Others should listen to us, others should respect us, others should talk well of us. With that as the aim, we do our own machinations. हम पढ़े लिखे लोग, we do our own maneuvers to ensure that we are in the good books of people. Whereas when our intelligence becomes even brighter, there is that liberating intelligence where you don't do any such thing. You only live in love, and rest of it is God's will. In good likelihood, everything will be taken care of. You don't maneuver towards it. That is when you surrender to God, that is bhakti language, or in the language of jnana, when you see the peril, when you see the danger of the least selfish mental activity, by seeing that, you abandon, you relinquish, you let go of that selfish activity. That thought just goes away. That thought doesn't stay anymore in you, because in you there is this intelligence which sees that this is poison. Maybe she is my own daughter, but still I should not dominate her. She has grown up, she is another individual now. Maybe this one is my own student. Last 20 years he has learnt a lot from me. But that doesn't mean that I can be authoritative over him. In this way, the spiritually very evolved person totally abandons the psychological domination. He operates or she operates only through his or her perception of truth. If he is insisting on something, it's not to establish his authority over the other. A wise person also may insist on something. That insistence comes from the wise person's perception of that course of action being the right one. Insist in the sense of he may rally arguments, but suppose it goes other way, he gracefully accepts it. So violence is of various levels, and the subtle violence is when we seek to be authoritative, and you and I can examine it. Whenever we have been a bit dominating, either preferably right at that time, if later if we examine why we behaved like that, it came out of some insecurity only. We don't want to let go of some advantage. So we do, as some book went by some psychologist, games that people play. Isn't it? There is some book like that. Is it games that people play? Right. Huh? Yeah, games people play. Eric Fromm, or who was that? Some transactional analysis man, I suppose. Some psychologist wrote this popular book many years ago. The games people play. And who are those people? Some 60 of them are here in this hall. One is on the stage also. We play games. For somehow, Bhagavan Jane, we are deep inside insecure. And Vedanta is to expose it, eliminate it, These terrorists, etc., about whom I made a passing mention, they are at a very low stage of evolution. They are so childish. And especially Vedanta students should realize, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha. They did not kill anybody really. Every one of them who died at Taj or at Oberoi will come back with added force, with greater force. No one goes. That is how Krishna's teaching begins, right? What's that first shloka? 12th shloka in second chapter. After that, next one. Ashocyan anvashochastvam. After that, next one, he says, Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha. Hey Arjun, what are you talking? Nobody ever died, nobody will ever die. Nacha bhavishyamaha, nacha na bhavishyamaha. There is double negative. It is an error on your part to think that any of these people will cease to be. No one ceases to be. We were all time, we are all the time, we will be all the time. This is how the Gita's teaching begins. However, of course, you and I should not just quote some shloka and become dull. We need to examine all these life's issues at its right place. At its right place. In the right context, we need to examine. But I would say at this juncture that they did not achieve much at all. They cannot achieve. Violence cannot achieve much at all. They go into more and more chaos. They have done great damage to Islam actually, these terrorists. Have they helped? Have they benefited? They have brought such disgrace to a religion which has its own religious quality basically, but they damaged its prospects and so on. So, anyadeva viditat atho aviditat adhi. Again, in great humility, the Rishi here says, iti shushruma, we have heard in this way. From whom? From those ancient teachers, from the parampara, ye naha tat vyachachakshire. Vyachachakshire means they explained it to us. So the Rishi doesn't own this insight. He doesn't say that this is my insight. Such insight came to many blessed people in the past. And I am sharing with you this insight, says the Rishi of the Kena Upanishad. So you see, in just a few mantras, a text like the Kena Upanishad, above all, throws so much light on how we live. That's why they are eternally relevant. Otherwise, this Kena Upanishad is some thousands of years old. It is of that age. And why should we study? Like in software, some new version comes and the old version is thrown away. So why don't you have a Kena Upanishad version 2009 and this is the old thing, No, in these matters, old is gold. What was said thousands of years ago is valid because it's not about some externalities. The software is about some, external activity. Like communication, mobiles, telephones, television, etc. is a certain external layer of human life. Relatively, food is more internal. So even though we have come into the new millennium, we don't say, let's stop taking carbohydrates and proteins and what's the third one? Fats, etc. Because for millions of years people were eating that. Let's eat something else. वो नहीं होता. You again have to take, discover what were the good food habits. So we want to go back and take organic food, take such food that olden days people used to take which were not contaminated by chemicals, right? So food, we don't say that humanity has been taking bath for so long, let us stop it. Shiva Shiva, that would be so stupid. Same way, the spiritual teachings are eternally valid. They need to be, in fact, refreshed, in the sense we have to gain fresh insights into the same teachings. The fresh in the sense how it applies to this situation. The principle is the same. Now there is a string of 5 mantras. 5 mantras, poetically also very charming. All the 5 mantras having second half of them the same. You can learn the second half and say, I learnt half of it. Half of the 5 mantras. There are many stotras like that, right? The 4th line is the same. For example, Lingashtakam. All the 4th lines are what? Tat pranamami. Yeah. So in a class, a teacher asked the students, memorize this Lingashtakam. And within 5 minutes, one of the students said, I have memorized already 1/4 of it. What? 1/4 memorized in seconds? Tat pranamami sada shiva lingam. That is the 4th line everywhere. So in these 5 mantras, vidhi nedam yadidam upasate is common in all the 5 mantras. Let's read the first one. Yadvachanabhyuditam yena vagabhyudhyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate yadvachanabhyuditam yena vagabhyudyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Yat vacha anabhyuditam. Vadati means one speaks. There is another synonym for it, vakti. Ramaha vadati means Rama speaks. Ramaha vakti. That also means Rama speaks, Rama says. The passive participle of vakti becomes ukta. That is more known, ukta. Kim uktam, tena uktam, taya uktam. The passive participle of vadati is uditam. Vadati means one says. Uditam means said. In English you have say, said, said. The third one. Go, went, gone. Third one. That is the passive participle. So you have here uditam, then with an upasarga abhi, it becomes abhyuditam. I am sharing this because long ago, when I first studied Kena Upanishad, this was difficult for me. I would split it as abhi plus ut plus itam. Then I said, what is this itam now? I had difficulty. Then one day it flashed, oh, abhi plus uditam, it is vad dhatu. these grammarians are very concerned with dhatu. For years I did Brahma Vidya, studied Brahma Vidya, and went on improving Sanskrit grammar knowledge of mine. Recently I started looking at meanings of the mantras. This may be happening in some of you also. Or if not Sanskrit, in this gathering there may not be many into Sanskrit, it would be in English language. Either consciously or without your knowing, you might be going more into language than into tattva. That happens to many of us. Again, the power of word. This vak it enchants you. Language, has a power to enchant you. My favorite example is as a man went to meet the chairman and managing director of a company. He had an appointment at 4 o'clock. And when he went there, the charming receptionist said, "Oh, are you Mr. Jagannathan?" He said, "I am Jagannathan." "Yes, yes. Our CMD is very eager to meet you." But the receptionist was so charming, this man Jagannathan started talking to her. "What is your name?" "Mary Gonsalves." "Oh, where are you from?" "Kerala." "I am also from Kerala." And half an hour he talked to her. By then the CMD, he had an exit door from behind. He disappeared. Finally Mary Gonsalves said, "Mr. Jagannathan, you are a really charming, nice man. I think you should meet our CMD." She takes him inside, but he has gone. So word is like the charming receptionist. You may miss your interview with Brahman. You may settle only for the word Brahma. Brahma shabd ko pakad ke kya hoga? Not much. Vivek Chudamani says, Brahma Shabd, if you become a scholar, if you speak, write, etc., bhuktaye natu muktaye. Adi Shankara says, if you only master the words, it's not a waste. You will get lot of shawls and lot of, good food everywhere, and the society will adore you. A terrific speaker, what wonderful, and so on. Your books will be sold in millions. You may address even United Nations, and so many things you will do. But that is called bhukti. You will have a good life, but there will be no mukti. For mukti, you have to let go of this attachment to the word. Brahma Shabda chhod do. Brahma is required. You need to embrace Brahman and not hold tightly the word. The word is only a container. Vacha anabhyuditam. That which was never said, which cannot be said by the word, by speech. However, yena vag abhyudyate. All speech proceeds thanks to Brahman. Tat eva brahmatvam vidhi. Know that and that alone. Eva is alone. Usko hi. As you have in Hindi, he. Usko hi Brahma samjho. And not what people worship. What in the world large numbers of people worship. The Swamiji, who has given some footnotes, also has touched upon an interesting and important aspect here, that such a mantra seems to go against Bhakti Marga, because popularly people worship Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Allah, Father in heaven. People worship Ek Onkar, Satnam, in number of ways. Or even in Buddhism and Jainism, where there is no clear depiction of God, they worship the Tirthankars or Bhagavan Buddha himself. So apparently this na idam, not this which people worship, seems to criticize that. Swami Sarvananji has clarified, there is no contradiction between bhakti and jnana. In bhakti, we begin with sakama bhakti, with our desires, with our wishes. That bhakti goes to a higher level of nishkama bhakti, where we don't seek anything from Krishna. We just love Krishna with no reason. We love him. And if he were to ask us, what do you want? We would say, give us more love for you. Bhakti for bhakti's own sake. Love for love's own sake. Such nishkama bhakti is called, and Sarvananji has written here, this para bhakti is what the Advaita Jnana also touches upon. If at all there is a sort of criticism, it is for the Sakama Bhakti, which is very popular. So Chinmayananji used to say, people do not pray to God, they pray on God, P-R-E-Y. Not P-R-A-Y, they pray on God, saying Balaji and everywhere, if you make me win this lottery, 10% I will give you. What is this? Can we make God a commission agent? That would not be fair. But we all do it. Only those of us who are hoshiyar, pade likhe log. Hum log pade likhe, we do it in little decent ways, that's all. Subtle ways. That's what respectable families, respectable people in the world do. They do the same same things that other crooks do in the society. But only these people do it in respectable ways. And therefore, it goes on for some time. But ऊपर से भगवान देख रहा है. ऊपर से भगवान देखता है. God sees that all humanity, with some rare exceptions, all humanity is floundering. They are erring. All of us, we are the smarter ones among us, find out the rules of the game quickly, and then within those rules of the game, we secure our self-interest. We ensure our self-interest. To quote Chinmayananji once more, he said, the rich give help to the poor over the walls around their palatial houses. We build our palace, we build a wall, and then we say, I want to be charitable, call all the poor people and across the wall. It's a figurative expression. Is there a letting go? Is there an abandon of the psychological insecurity? To be precise, it's not anything to do with the physically giving away. That some may do, some may not do. That is not the issue. Every one of us need to examine, am I clinging to my being wealthy? Or scholars among us have to examine, am I clinging to my knowledge and using it as an advantage? Many times I stand before some 500 books I have in my cottage and I say, why not I just distribute all these 500 books? Then my clever mind says, then how will I give my next lecture? Then the other side, I have a nice dialogue within myself. Don't give lectures. Kya apatti hai? What do you lose? No. Ayyo. Then other mind says, no, I think you don't have to give lectures, don't have to write articles, don't have to, forget everything. Because what is the use of all these books? You only dwell on essence. Just to say, who am I? By then I get tired. Then I say, that's a good proposal, but not today. One of these days, I will distribute all these books. and walk away. Walk away, not literal physically, walk in freedom. Why books? Why words and words and words? So I'm sharing this with you because many of you also are like that, carrying books. I have some nearly 100 books or so out of this 500. I have not read a single page so far. But I am carrying them from somewhere 88, 89. It has gone Bombay to Delhi, Delhi to USA, USA to Bombay, Bombay to Cochin, Cochin to Kundapur, Kundapur to Banaras. It is going everywhere. You neither use them, nor you have the, whatever you call it, courage or clarity or whatever to say, you fellows, I have been carrying you for 20 years, enough is enough, get lost and throw them out of the window. No, you take it. Some, not only spiritual books, all sorts of books, I have some book yesterday, last week I was looking, some book about how British Empire, made the whole world their, they dominated over the whole world. It's about British Empire. That also I said, this is not Vedanta, this is not about liberation, but in a related way this could be quoted sometimes. So let us put it back. Now, scholars are attached to books. Some others are attached to wealth. Some others to maybe some other skill. So what is attachment? It is the mark of an inner insecurity. But you happen to, that is either your prarabdha or it is God's will, you happen to handle a few things. Personally, there is no insecurity of any kind. That would be the state of freedom. So, nedam yadidam upasate comes across as a strong statement condemning all worship, all puja. We'll see that again. It comes as a second line of every mantra. We shall see it tomorrow.